Today, you are listening to Think Again Christian, where pop culture and Christian traditions collide with biblical truth. Sponsored by Rainier Christian Schools. And now your host, pastor of Ravensdale Bible Church and superintendent of Rainier Christian Schools, Tony Jamie.
Rethinking and re-examining concepts, ideas, traditions, and challenging your beliefs from American pop culture in your Christian denominational circles. How? By the renewing of your mind through God's Word and open radio conversation. Well, a few years ago, I ran across a book called It's Your Ship. This book introduced me to the story of Captain Michael Abrashoff and his command of the USS Benfold, a destroyer ship which became legendary inside and outside of the Navy. And when Captain Abrashoff took over as commander of the USS Benfold, it was a ship armed with new technology, but within an old system. And it was suffering from low morale and poor performance. One of the unique things that I didn't realize is, you know, in the Navy, they're meticulous about their ratings of each ship. And, you know, I think we're familiar with war games, but they have like serious competition. So quite literally, you could have the worst ship in the fleet or the best. And so at this point, when he took over, they weren't doing so well in their scores. And, you know, the ships were changing. You know, these ships that are going out nowadays are so technologically advanced. When I was doing some research on this, it's fascinating. It's crazy how much they cost too. An aircraft carrier, this might hurt, but an aircraft carrier costs about $1 billion, a little bit more than that. Isn't that insane? But I was able to immediately identify with this book, not only on a personal level, but as a leader, as a pastor, as a husband, as, you know, a leader in Christian ministries. Because Captain Abrashoff was able to see the ship through the eyes of the crew. How? By soliciting the sailors' suggestions and creating an environment of discipline by kind of focusing on the purpose through communication. Communication was the key to his success, and he was able to bridge the gap between, you know, a 20-year vet in the Navy and a 20-year-old kid just out of high school. You know, and I've kind of had the blessing on being both sides of the leadership spectrum in this area. And you know, the way to run a business or to run your family, you know, we're all faced with this. Is it a dictatorship? Or is it through collaboration? And so one of the things that I enjoy about, you know, Think Again Christian, doing a radio show rather than just being a pastor and preaching, is we can interact with the world and life, which is what we're called to do. We're called to go out and live, and we have jobs and we have tasks, and so the tricky part then is to take the scriptures and then to apply them as we're engineers and plumbers and teachers or soldiers. And so this book really, as I'm able to interact with several different books and kind of apply those principles with biblical principles and see how they cross-check. And this book really, I think, was able to help me do both. And so maybe you're running a business, or you're a manager or a church leader, or you're running your home. I've discovered that the book, It's Your Ship, the mentality is as important for the employee as the management. So I think it works on both sides. And as a young, passionate, dream-filled entrepreneur, I never for myself thought of me as just like being an employee. But I realize most do. I always felt that I was a leader, and I got this from my dad, and he taught me to work harder than everybody else and do things before they were asked. And in fact, one of my life mottos has been no job too big, no task too small, which means be willing to do your best no matter how lowly of a job it may seem. And I believe that we should all have an it's your ship mentality. Teenagers, looking at their bedrooms, your job and within your department, your ministry within the church, or your role at home, whether it's the breadwinner, the gardener, the cook, the handyman, etc. Take pride and ownership in whatever it is that you do. God didn't make us, just mindless robots. You have a freedom to flourish in whatever capacity you've been given. The key is to understand that there are no jobs that are worthless. In fact, they all mean something, and you should treat your task with great respect and great attention. Do it better than it's ever been done before. It's one of the things I've talked about before. And so in this case, act like it's your ship. You're the captain of your kitchen. You're the captain of the garden, of the men's breakfast on Saturday mornings, etc. And then remember, it's true, the weakest link, that saying, we are only as strong as the weakest link, whether it is the church, the business, or our home, which means you can only be as strong as the weakest person around you. And that means the attention that they put towards their task. One of the amazing things that people have found throughout the Seattle Seahawks organization is how everybody acts like Pete Carroll. The security guards are very friendly and outgoing and talk to the executives, and the whole culture's changed because they've mirrored Pete Carroll, and that's a good thing. Well, there's another book that I really enjoyed. It's called Creativity Inc., and it's about the leaders of Pixar. Pixar, they're the animation team that completely revolutionized movie making by using really the it's your ship collaboration concepts. And so, Pixar, they've had those movies like Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, Cars, Toy Story, etc. I don't even think we can call them cartoons anymore. Now we're all, so sophisticated because of the computerized animation that Pixar has created. They've completely transformed the animation world. Well, the key to Pixar, the key to It's Your Ship is the word collaboration, and I've got to confess, I hate the word collaboration. I really do. Give me any kind of synonym or euphemism for collaboration, I'll take it. Why? It's really because the word's been so misunderstood and abused. I love the idea of working with others. I mean, that's what we're talking about. But collaboration has been interpreted to mean that, anybody has an equal say, no matter what. Or, it doesn't matter if they've never done the job. They have as much voice in this meeting as somebody who's done the job for 25 years. And remember, I'm not a fan of the idea of, communism and the collective. And again, the reason is because it's just not true. All are equal. Some are just equal more, right? We got that from Animal Farm. But anybody can be given the place at the table. I like that. I do like that. But you must bring something of value to earn the right to contribute at the table. On the ship, there are many skilled seamen and seawomen. But you have to understand your place and your role, and collaboration isn't about a pooling of ignorance. I hate when I'm in these meetings. It's like, I don't know, but, I've never looked at this, but, well, and if you don't know and you've never researched it, then why are you talking? Why don't you just sit back and listen? And then when we talk about something that you do know and you do bring value, then I'm all ears. Go ahead. Instead we have this idea that the blind leading the blind is good collaboration. That's terrible collaboration. You earn a voice by working hard, studying, and then using your talents and your gifts for the team. And so while I dislike the word collaboration, I love the concept. I mean, as a former athlete, I've always had a team mentality, and as a team we work together. Everybody has a specific job to do. Imagine the pitcher without a catcher, or the quarterback without an offensive lineman to protect him. Think about an aircraft carrier and the guy who waves the flag so that the fighter pilot can land safely. One of my favorite acronyms is TEAM. Team, T, together, E, everyone, A, achieves, and then M, more. Together, everyone achieves more. And that's true in a team concept. It's a beautiful thing. Well, everybody has an opportunity to participate, but you also have a responsibility in the role. And that's one of the things I love about It's Your Ship is the ship is serious. It's a serious place. It's a war machine. People die. And so It's Your Ship doesn't mean you can just do anything you want. There's always a rule book or a person in charge. There's a chain of command. Everybody has a responsibility and ownership within the organization. And so, some of your jobs may have to do with just, cleaning the deck, and all of a sudden the red light goes on and, you're manning a gun. And the Navy has tons of rules and tons of SOPs, standard operating procedures, which is what makes the It's Your Ship concept so interesting, because while there's these specific rules, there's also flexibility. And so I've learned tons of lessons through the USS Benfold, just looking at kind of their concept and how they break down, between the cooks, the musicians, the pastors, the clerks, the nurses, the air traffic controllers, gunners, pilots, firemen, machinists, electricians, and many more. There's so many different types of jobs that are on a ship. Just imagine the aircraft carriers carry 6,000 personnel. 6,000. It's incredible. So on these ships, they've mastered the art of working together within these functions, but as a unified team. And so some of the takeaways I've gotten is, well, one of the It's Your Ship mentalities is that everybody has a skill and talent. Everybody has a role, and that's very important to understand. There is command. People have to take charge and then tap in. The leaders have to tap into everybody's talents and gifts. And so today we're looking at It's Your Ship and how that applies to our life, whether it's the church, work, or at home.
Since their small beginnings in 1963, the ministry of Rainier Christian Schools has been dedicated to educating and developing each of their students for the glory of God. And it's more than just a school. Rainier Christian Schools is actually an entire school district, with 3 schools serving the areas of Kent, Auburn, Covington, Renton, and Maple Valley. The Christ-centered environment weaves God's truth through everything they do, from top-notch academics all the way through their competitive sports programs. Learn more at rainiercsd.org or call 425-255-7273. That's 425-255-7273. Contact Rainier Christian Schools today.
Welcome back. You're listening to Think Again Christian, sponsored by Rainier Christian Schools. And now your host, Tony Jamie.
Today we're talking about It's Your Ship. It's Your Ship is the title of one of my favorite books, and that I've really been able to glean life lessons and just apply practical business practices as well as biblical truths. And so that's one of the things I love, when I can grab a book and be able to apply it to my life that way. And so we're looking at It's Your Ship and the USS Benfold, the number 1 destroyer in our fleet at one time. And there's this great book that talks about how you have to take the responsibility in your area, no matter how small of a function you may think it is. But you have responsibility and you have ownership. And flip that around as a leader, to understand, to delegate, understand to trust, understand to listen to others. And then think about that when you're applying that at home, and as the leader of your household or at work, and having kind of that trust in others. One of the most amazing things to me in It's Your Ship is to be reminded that these ships at certain times are relying on 20-year-old kids. All those favorite movies that we like to watch, right? Where where, the guy that's manning the sonar, who has to find the blip, which is a submarine that's tracking them, trying to kill them, or he's got to de-scramble or decode, is always, that 20-year-old kid, right? So you've got the old, commander who's relying on the 20-year-old, and that's the way it is. And so in It's Your Ship, we learned some great lessons. One of the things I really appreciate as a leader is the idea of learning to listen. See the ship through the eyes of the crew. See your house through, for me as a husband, how does my wife see this situation? How do my kids see this situation? Can I become a better leader by seeing it through their eyes? Can I become a better leader by listening? Do we listen? Are we really listening to others, especially when there's maybe a disagreement or an argument? One of the things I like to think, even when I'm in the middle of it, is okay, step back, listen aggressively. I try to close my mouth and listen aggressively. This is one of the things I learned from It's Your Ship. And then communicate with purpose. Sometimes we think, we've got to keep secrets. No, they're on a need to know basis, right? Well, no, people need to know, especially nowadays. We've been taught to be critical thinkers, and we're telling kids and everybody, ask the why. Well, if they're asking the why, that means you need to communicate the why. Well, how does this, work with Scripture? Do we see this blending in with Scripture? I think so. One of the things that, as I was looking at some of my favorite verses, Ephesians 4:11 through 12, it talks about the different offices or positions within the church. Some are gifted as apostles or prophets or evangelists or pastors or teachers. And again, this gives us the idea that there will be different offices. There are different positions. There's leaders, there's followers, there's experience. And so there will be a separation. But what does that mean? How do we work together? Well, that's where we put the It's Your Ship concept. We see in Ecclesiastes 4 that help is good. Two are better than one. Two are better than one because together they can work more effectively. If one of them falls, the other can help. There was a recent movie, I believe it's called Oblivion, and I just saw it on the TV the other day. So this is not a full endorsement, so I haven't seen it unedited. But they kept asking throughout, are you an effective team? Ooh, I love that. Not, are you a team? Are you an effective team? Well, you know what? It's good to have help. Two are better than one. This is one of the first things that the Lord says in Genesis 2 when he's looking at Adam. He says, it's not good for a man to be alone. So, you think you're the head of the home, right? Well, you have a partner. And it's good to have a wife. And I think my wife and I, especially as we're raising kids, it's good that she's the wife and I'm the husband and she's the woman and I'm the man, and she has different concerns that like making the bed that maybe I don't have. It's a good team. Proverbs 27:17 talks about as one piece of iron sharpens another, so we sharpen one another. And again, on an It's Your Ship mentality, we're here to make each other better, not to replace each other. Because we have different gifts, we have different talents, we have different skills. We come together, we join forces, and then even in that, we sharpen one another. I just saw this special on Bruce Jenner, and they were talking about how he trained for the Olympics because he's a decathlete. So he actually had 10 different events, and so what he did was he went and trained with the 10 best athletes in each one of his events. So while he was pretty good at all of them, he went and trained with the best of the best in all of them, so that elevated who he was, as iron sharpens iron. We see in 1 Corinthians 12 as the body of believers is described as, none's more important than the other, and we're familiar with this. Your eye's not more important than your nose, not more important than your ears, not important than your mouth. We don't want to walk around without the ability of our five senses. And then Romans 3 talks about, accountability, which is a major concept in It's Your Ship. You have accountability, and we're accountable before God. Another way to describe this is in 1 Corinthians 4, it's described as stewardship. Stewardship, giving that idea that you are not the owner, it's not yours. My children, and this is a hard concept, but your children are not yours. They belong to their Creator. They belong to God. You're a steward. You're a keeper. You've been entrusted with this. Now go and do well. And then you'll be rewarded. You'll be rewarded for doing well with what you've been given. Well, one of the ways I've attempted to implement It's Your Ship is through my ideas at Rainier Christian Schools. And one of the things that I do is I send out these, we call them OTA videos. OTA stands for Official Teacher Activities, which actually borrowed from the NFL, which is Official Training Activities. And my OTA videos are usually, they're around 5 minutes long, and they attempt to train, motivate, and inform and excite my staff. I send them out through our email system every Friday, and any new ideas that I plan on implementing are usually first introduced through an OTA video. Now, my OTAs also provide the opportunity for every employee in our organization to have direct contact to me. So they can disagree with me, they can ask questions, they can be in agreement. And the reason why is the strength of a battleship or the strength of an organization is to be battle ready at all times. And so employees need to be ready to not only act, but even take command on their own. And so they need to understand and know not only what we're doing, but why we're doing it. They need to be given freedom to make decisions and even take risks. And so my transparent OTA videos are designed to prepare my entire staff so that they have the information to be ready to act. And then we will act in the same manner because we're all very familiar because of our videos. Now, most organizations allow for, kind of open grumbling and complaints, right? Well, no. But great organizations do. And not just so that you can complain, grumble, but so you can take on those challenges and then address those concerns. And so as a leader of an organization of 125 employees and 3 different sites, as I'm communicating our purpose with people, well, they have a lot of feedback. They have a lot of insight. They have a completely different perspective. And so the only way I can see through their eyes is if they have an opportunity to disagree with me, to give me feedback. One of the first lessons I learned as a pastor and, as a husband, like I said, is to listen. I need to listen, and we all need to listen. We need to listen to other people. It's a great way to grow, great way to work as a team. And so, one of the things I often say, around campus is our secret weapon. Our secret weapon are our teachers. And so, that's one of the things I love about, as you kind of embody a certain concept like It's Your Ship, and you start, bringing together some of the sayings, the ship sayings and stuff like, well, okay, if the U.S. Benefold is a destroyer, what are our missiles? What are our weapons? And for us, it's our teachers. Well, we've got to have a way to empower them so that they can be missiles that are ready to launch. And then, one of the final concepts, again, is this idea of transparency, and again, this idea that people can have, open communication. Why? Well, because they're responsible for their department and they've been empowered. They've been given ownership to them. And so they need to be able to just, be completely open and honest. I'll be forever indebted to my father for kind of producing a push the envelope, stay ahead of the competition, it's your ship type of mindset. My dad was a warehouse manager, and he managed 3 warehouses for his company, and he made a habit of going beyond just the standard. Why? Because he believed it was his ship. And as a baseball coach, my dad taught me, as a coach, you build a strong bench, right? You're only as strong as your weakest link. And so he spent as much time with the lower half of our team as he did the upper half. So It's Your Ship is about organizational teamwork that embraces not only individualism, but partnerships. And so before you run your home or office like a one-man show, remember the It's Your Ship mentality and think again, Christian.
You've been listening to Think Again Christian, sponsored by Rainier Christian Schools and Tony Jamie. Rainier Christian Schools serves preschool through high school with 3 locations in the Renton,